Alright gentlemen, this is a tutorial on how to beat the Wolfenstein 2 DLC this time. Wolfenstein 2 has 3 DLCs, each DLC is split into 3 parts. Now, there's actually some good news. Because each DLC, unlike the main game, is split, as I say, into 3 parts, it means that you only have to complete each individual part of each DLC individually in Mein Leben to get the achievement. So for example, if you die in Chapter 2 of Agent Silent Death, but you've done Chapter 1 on Mein Leben already, you then only have to go back and complete Chapter 2 on Mein Leben. So once you do Chapter 1, it's done, you don't have to go back and do that again, no matter how many times you die in Chapter 2 or 3. So that's great for us because it means it's not as much of a time investment. Each chapter really shouldn't take much longer than an hour. So compared to the main game where that's like a 6+ hour time investment, this is pretty easy going. Chapter 1 of Gunslinger Joe is fairly lengthy. Now, things to note with Joe is obviously each DLC character has their own perks. Joe has the built-in ramshackles within him, and with that comes regenerating armor. So armor will regen to the nearest increment of 25, like your health would to the nearest 20. So for this first part, we'll immediately go to the safe room, knocking these 2 Nazis out on the way, turn right, and gun him down. And we're going to be prioritizing the submachine guns here. We can also guard this entrance and just shoot them as they come to us. You'll probably be used to this by now if you've done the main game. You're basically sitting at an entrance point and just waiting for them to run in your line of sight, and then you gun them down like so. So once you've gotten rid of all of them, go and loot the place, and then we'll go into the stealth section. I'd say that Joe's chapters are the hardest of each of the DLCs, mainly because it's very difficult to stealth as him. He has no range stealth option.
Said it might come in handy one day. How right he was.
Reminder to all prisoners. Lights out is at 1800. No exceptions. Violators will be punished.
For this particular section, I tend to go to the right and wait behind the Nazi that we'll see there. We will not melee him straight away, we will wait for him to start walking forward, like so, and then melee him. This is so that his body is sort of out of sight. We're then immediately going to go under here and wait for that Nazi over by the desk to turn around. Now, as tempting as it is, do not shoot him. We do not want to raise the alarm in this section because the door to the exit will shut and you're pretty much fucked from there. When he turns around though, we're going to go up these stairs and continue on to the left. Now we're not wasting any time here, we're just going to go straight to the next set of stairs and we're going to wait for the commander to walk past.
Mandatory. Failure to meet nutritional standards will result in punishment.
And obviously make sure to hang back enough to the point where he can't see you. If he does, you're probably safe to just run straight to the exit from here, and you might make it through without the door shutting on you. Once you're at about this point, you can probably start running, but I tend to not because I really don't want that door to shut, even after we're past it, and you'll see in a second why. So now that those have despawned, we can go back, and because the alarm was not raised at all, or it was raised very late to the point where they despawned a second after the alarm was raised, the door will still be open. There are 3 things that we can do here. The first is to generally just loot the place. The second is you can get the fragmentation upgrade on the grenade, I believe it is, which just makes it a bit more effective. And the third and most important is the laser gewehr that we can find at the top floor. Now, providing how shit our weapons are at this point in the DLC, because we've got no upgrades and such, this weapon is an asset for the next couple of sections. And you'll see I tend to use a lot of heavy weapons, especially in this first chapter and a bit in the second chapter, just because they're so much better than anything else that we have. So there will be a dog that will head down the stairs the moment you peek out. So I like to pre-fire a bit and then shoot him, and then there's an Nazi at the top that we shoot. There are 2 or 3 more coming up, and so just blast them down. You will also find the shotguns here. So now for this part, there will be a lot of Nazis that will be heading our direction. Sometimes they come in a group or very quickly after one another. Other times they'll be very spaced out and will take forever. Either way, we are still just going to stand at this doorway and shoot them as we see them. Just bear in mind it's good to be patient here because it can take a while. But there's really no other safe strategy that I can think of because they have a lot of angles on you, especially as you're walking down there, because the windows on the left, they can shoot through those, and there's lots of different angles that it can get you. It's a very open room, so just try to hang back there and wait for them to come to you. So at this point, I think I'm safe and I'm heading out. There's no indicator for when all of the Nazis in this encounter are dead, so just be very aware when heading out. And you're able to loot the place once you're done. And instead of using the laser cover, we replace it with the hammer cover. I just find it works better for this next section. Now we're going to head backwards up the stairs, and the moment you hear them walking, head back down and camp for them here. So there are 2 robots that will head down the stairs, along with a few other foot soldiers, and there's a super Sedan, but I think you can wait for him at the bottom of the stairs, but he takes so long to the point where I tend to go to that wall at the end there. And there's still a couple more Nazis, I believe. Yeah. It's up to you how patient you want to be. You can wait at the bottom of the staircase for as long as you like, but I tend to go here and then blast him like so. Now the next section is a stealth section, so we can drop the hammer cover for now, because we will be doing it mostly stealthy. But there is an upgrade there, a mag extension for the submachine guns.
Außer sich. Wegen eines Gefangenen? Glaube ich nicht. Wir reden hier von Gunslinger Joe. Hast du nicht gehört, wie sehr er diesen Kerl hasst? Bei dem Sprechen heute Morgen hat er ihn
This part is a bit finicky, so we will wait for the Nazi to the left to start walking to the left, and when he does, we can take out this guy. It doesn't matter if they're speaking, they don't seem to notice when one just dies halfway through a conversation. And what I used to do was go up behind him and kill him, but instead we're going to drop down and head straight for the commander. There is also a foot soldier at the end of this tunnel that got a bit suspicious with my presence, but he didn't really seem to care, and he must have turned around fairly quickly because he just sort of disappeared after this. So just be wary of him. Once he turns around, you can just follow him, and we're going to head straight for the safe room. So that's me seeing that the coast is clear. And if you are quick enough, you can take that guy out, but I was way too slow here, and I don't even know where he went. But at this point, if you get seen, you can just head straight for the safe room, because we're going to have to set off the alarm anyway. But what matters most is that we can kill the commander before he calls in any reinforcements.
There seemed to be no way out. Or was there?
So now this will be our safe room, and we can stay in here, and you guessed it, we are just going to shoot them as we see them. Now, they are pretty hesitant when it comes to this part, especially during this recording. They just were not playing ball, and I had to kind of peek out a little. So again, a lot of this is just patience. But also be wary of grenades, and the grenade indicators in this game are horrible, as I'm sure you know. So I equip dual shotguns for this. You can also equip your submachine guns or your Sturmgewehrs, or you can do one shotgun and one submachine gun, or one shotgun and one Sturmgewehr. It's entirely up to you, just whatever works best. Ideally, we would have dual Sturmgewehrs with marksman scopes and extended mags and all that, but we just have to use what we're given. So it's up to you to kind of mix and match and see what works in each given chapter.
Jetzt bist du am Arsch.
Now, it's worth mentioning that there are also 2 super soldatans, I'm sure. At least there are if reinforcements are called. And the way you deal with those is obviously they can't fit into the safe room, but they will walk up to it and then they'll give up and turn around. And once they turn around, you can aim and shoot at their backs for a bit and then rinse and repeat until they die. This one was a bit confused and didn't go up the stairs. He just sort of stayed down there, so I just killed him. Usually they come up to this part here, and then as you can see I'm demonstrating, they'll walk there. And then they'll walk away, and you'll shoot them as they walk away, and then they'll get angry again, and they'll come back at you. But if you kill the commander before reinforcements are called, it's probably just the one down there. So now I'm preparing for round 2. There will be 2 robots that go out of the entrance there, so I'm just preparing a laser cover for them, and there will be a couple super statins and a couple of foot soldiers that will come out the main door. But with enough luck, one of the super statins will, there's also a magnum upgrade for the pistol, do not miss that. It will be quite helpful in chapter 2. But yeah, with enough luck, one of the super statins will have been blown up seconds after he spawns in. I don't know why that's caused. I think maybe the other one charges into him or something, but it seems to be very often that happens. So I'll activate the switch, immediately run here, charge up the laser cover and fire them down. And then I'll be aiming down here, the main gate, a couple of foot soldiers, and then you'll see the super statins rolling in. You can see his backpack is just already blown up. I don't know why that is, but it's very often that it happens. So this is the Panzerhund section now. And during the main game, I was a coward and did not actually really use the Panzerhund all that much. I instead decided to go up by foot. It felt a bit more controlled. I do the same thing here, at least until halfway. Now, it is possible to go like so with the Panzerhund and just destroy everything in your path. But my problem with that is it's just inconsistent. It just, sometimes you'll like barely lose any health, other times you'll get demolished from the start. It's just not consistent. But I'm just weird and I prefer to sit here with the laser cover and just fire them from a distance. It's still not entirely safe, but it feels a bit more controlled, and I do that for about halfway until you get to the alley, and then I run back and get in the Panzerhund because I feel a bit safer there. Generally, my impression is that most people don't do this. They're not cowards, and they just get in the Panzerhund and just ride away and destroy everything in their path in about a minute. But I decided to take ages doing this. This is what I feel safe doing, but I thought it'd be better to mention both ways of doing things. So I kill them, and now you can see I'm running back to get in the Panzerhund.
It was time to take one of those dogs for a walk.
And once they're all dead, we can get off, and now there's just a short stretch until the end of the mission.
Something about turning the Nazis' monstrosity against them felt poetic. I was getting it.
This part is pretty easy going. You just go through room by room and shooting them as you see them.
Then I thought about it spitting fire through my neighborhood. Maybe it's better.
We can crouch walk up these stairs, and then they'll walk down towards us, and we just shoot them before they get a chance to shoot us. That's really how it goes. I don't have much concrete strategy around this part. It just sort of kind of lays itself out in front of you. I've never found much issue at all here.
I was closing.
They all seem to be too busy running towards you to actually shoot, or just having their backs turned. There is a super stat in here, and I got a bit overkill with them. So you can see they're running towards you, and probably I got a bit cocky here, so probably be a bit more defensive, especially considering it's the end of the mission, and we don't want to fuck up now. We're going to lose our grenades at the end of the chapter anyway, so I may as well just use them all. So now there's just 2 or 3 Nazis left to kill, and we are good to go. I like to deal with them with just full aggression and just shoot them before they even get a chance to know that we're here. Or you can just hang back and be a bit defensive. It's up to you. As I say, this whole part is pretty easy, so I wouldn't suggest that there's any concrete, strict guidelines on how you do each room of this hotel. It's all kind of like the home stretch. So just deal with it however way you prefer. If you want to be more aggressive, be more aggressive. If you want to be more defensive, be more defensive. After the 4th of July, be careful what you say. The beginning of chapter 2 is a dream sequence, and unlike the courthouse, it doesn't matter whether or not you live or die. So I'd suggest just killing yourself and then you'll quickly spawn in this room. There's lots of odd items and weapons and ammo and such, so just collect everything that you can and be stealthy, because these enemies are quite sensitive to movement.
Hast du's Metze schon gesagt?
Mach ich, wenn ich ihn sehe.
Ist doch direkt nebenan.
Nein, ist auf dem Weg zur Zentrale.
So crouch walk up the stairs, and I prefer to throw a can to distract the 2 guys that you'll see. And then I just slip away and run through the whole section without even interacting with anyone. So as you can see, they walk to the left and then I slip away to the right. And then they'll despawn and then you can loot the area. That doesn't always happen though, and I've got a clip here that shows what happens when they just don't give a shit about the can. So, and I'm only saying this because it is at the beginning of the level, but it's probably most viable to just run through them, the route that you saw me go, and just hope for the best. You can see here I just start shooting them. This is also another viable option, but because it's so close to the beginning of the chapter, I'd suggest just running through them straight away like here. Because, I mean, if you make it, then you make it. If you die, you've only lost like 2 minutes of progress. So this is the next section, and it is also a stealth section, but it's rigged. As far as I'm concerned, you cannot go through this through stealth, at least not consistently. So I sit here with a shotgun and a submachine gun, so that I can use a submachine gun to shoot anything that's further away, and I use the shotgun to shoot anything that charges up close to us. The enemies here are relatively aggressive, so they do come pretty fast. And then once you kill all of them, you can loot everything. Something to note is I think these boxes, the wooden ones, are randomized, so that's weird. And then I sprint straight up here with dual shotguns this time. There was a shotgunner on the lower section, and so I took his shotgun, which gives us 2. And then I run up and take cover here. Again, they're very aggressive, so they walk right up to you. And then I just gun them down. And more often than not, there's a few stragglers which I use the pistol with the Magnum extension that we got in chapter 1. Because it's the only semi-automatic weapon we've got. And yeah, the boxes, I'm sure they're randomized. I don't know if that's just a DLC thing or if it's just a Gunslinger Joe thing. I don't know. So I loot everything and then I come up here and I want to get this guard to raise his head so I can shoot him. We're not really going to stealth this either. So I just jump on the spot here. and then that usually gets him to stand up, and then I can cleanly deal with him. Now we're going to stick up here. They cannot shoot through this grate. It's worth noting in Wolfenstein 2, there's some floors like this that they can shoot through. This is not one of them. Sometimes they can see you and they try to shoot. I think there's a shotgunner in this recording that did try that, but they can't hit you as far as I'm aware.
Siehst du was? Stehst im Weg. Kann ich schießen? Nein! Ich wechsle meine Position. Verstanden!
So I sit here and I use the pistol for its semi-automatic purposes, although I'm just not even bothering to use it in this recording. I usually shoot them with the pistol to stun them and then finish them off with the Sturmgewehr. And you can see the shotgunner trying to shoot me through there. He can't. Now, how I deal with him or anyone that's under us and is not budging is I throw a grenade off that beam there, like so. I think I do it here. Yeah. And then that usually deals with them. Very often that's effective with the Super Soldaten, because he stands under you very often. But yeah, I use the Magnum pistol and the Sturmgewehr here. I just find it's the combination which works best. However, we will get our best weapons in this room once we kill these enemies, because we can find the nail gun upgrade for the machining pistols, which is an amazing upgrade and actually makes them, it turns them from shit weapons to actually really, really viable ones. So you can see I'm just sort of playing around with that Super Sedan, trying to position him right, and then I just shoot his back, and that pretty much deals with him. You're pretty much trying to find an angle in which you can shoot him, but he can't shoot you. And it's quite tricky sometimes, but you will get there eventually. That's the safest strat I could find from this room. But a lot of Wolfenstein Mein Leben is just finding a suitable spot to sit and then shoot enemies as they appear. You're trying to make them run to you, essentially, so that you can pick them off, rather than having to sort of scramble around a room and just do a whole bunch of inconsistent stuff, which just puts everything up in the air. It's the more boring solution for sure, but I find it works for me. And it just, a lot of Mein Leben is just trying to reduce inconsistencies and trying to make it as predictable as possible. And as you can see, I got the nail gun upgrade in that small room. You do not want to miss that. It's like the best upgrade in this whole DLC. So I placed the Hammergewehr in that spot, and then I switch the lever, and now I sit in this spot and I wait for the Super Sedan to come around the corner. And I'm sure there is a better spot than this one, but it's I've never died here, but you can probably find a way better spot or throw a grenade or something. I've just always done this to sort of get a drop on him, but then sometimes he doesn't come over here, and so I was trying to get his attention here, which was a horrible idea, because he just started shooting at me and then I took damage. I'm sure you're smart. You can work something out a bit better than this. It's not my proudest strategy. It feels quite rough, but you've got an open room and it's one enemy, so it shouldn't be too bad. You can figure something out. Now I bring the Hammergewehr down in the sewers and I shoot the drones as soon as I see them. I find the Hammergewehr just works best for this. The second best option would be the shotguns, but you'd be using ammo in that case, although I doubt it matters that much. So now we're going back onto the surface, and this is a sort of weird stealth section in the streets with the KKK. Just before I get in the building, I crouch walk. That will buy us enough time to take out this KKK bloke before the Nazi at the doorway turns around. So then we can quickly punch up the Nazi. And there's two KKK members that you can see there, and they'll walk and get together with a bunch of others over there. So I tend to stand around here and I wait for them
to group together, and then I throw a grenade and then rush back to the doorway. It's worth noting that they're not always as casual as this. I don't know why, but sometimes they just sort of know someone's there and they're in an alerted state. If that happens, just start shooting at them and stay at the doorway. Don't even step foot out. Just stay here and then shoot them as they come to you. The nail gun makes this so much easier now. If you wait here, they will eventually come towards you, but they do take a while. So feel free to sort of aim and snipe out just at your own risk. That is a very unfortunate aim. Pretty sure I shot through his legs like 3 times there. Jesus Christ. That was shameful. They do very often stick at that cover, so sometimes I do sort of rush up and take them down, but you can only walk too far before the next set of enemies spawn in, and there's a commander in that section, and it's also a section that I like to sprint through, as you'll see.
My fellow Americans, this is Uber Commander Roderick Metza speaking. As a dentist, I know the value of helping people.
These curbs are very strange. You don't want to jump over them because that'll alert the guards, so you'll just have to sort of like wrestle with them until you get up. They're very weird. So now for this part. There's one enemy that I kill, and it's the KKK member that you can see there. So I go up, I shoot him, I vault over that barrier, and then I run and just shoot. And then I grab that upgrade and then run straight out. You don't have to get that upgrade because the moment we get to the top of that staircase, we're not going to go over and they will despawn. So probably just forget the upgrade, despawn them, and then come back and we can loot the bit. That upgrade is also a very good one. It is the armor-piercing rounds for the Sturmgewehr, which will make them a very, very useful tool for the rest of the DLC. At this point, we've pretty much got decent weapons, which is good. So for this part, there's a Panzerhund and a Super Sedan. We can completely avoid the Panzerhund by going through this container, letting him pass, and then just crouch walking behind him. That's him dealt with. We won't have to see him again. The Super Sedan, I usually hug the wall and then get up behind him with dual shotguns that I've got ready, and then I shoot him when I get behind him. However, he saw me here, and I just blasted him anyway. That's the first time he's actually saw me. Usually he's just not alerted to me if you hug the wall, but you are kind of playing with the devil there, being that close to him, so it's kind of bound to happen. So just be ready just to gun him down as quickly as possible. We are nearing the end of chapter 2, and I don't even bother stealthing any of this. I just shoot these two as quickly as I can. And then throw some grenades to ward off the enemies that will be approaching. The armor-piercing rounds pretty much means that the Sturmgewehrs are now fully automatic snipers. They're very effective now, and we can just sit here, as you'd expect, and just shoot them until there's none left. And then once they're all dead, we can just loot the area. You might have noticed that I'm a bit more casual about these DLCs than I am the main game. That's because they just are more casual. If you die even at the end of one of the DLCs, with one exception, I wouldn't say it's that big of a deal because you're not losing as much progress as you'd be used to if you've done Mein Leben. For here, just shoot the guy that you saw there and then run in here and kill the commander. And then we'll aim out and there's like 2 or 3 Nazis that we'll pick off. But yeah, it's really a lot more easygoing just because it's not like you're going to lose 6+ hours of progress if you die. That one exception I was talking about is Gunslinger Joe Chapter 3. It's the longest DLC chapter, and the last part of that is very difficult, and if you die at that last part, which is very possible, you will lose like a good hour of progress, I reckon. But it's not as annoying as dying in the main game, like on Venus or the Outsmarts or something. So that's why I'm a bit more casual about the DLCs. Once you kill all the ones downstairs, head straight up, and there's one Nazi that will always be running towards you, and then one right behind him. If you wait here for a bit longer, the commander will show up. And now there's 3 more enemies that we can get to spawn in by walking a couple steps forward here. Then we'll go back, and I like to throw a grenade for good measure. Sometimes that deals with them, usually it doesn't, and then I'll just gun them down as they run towards me. And that's them dealt with. So that's Chapter 2 of Gunslinger Joe done with. Chapter 3 is the hardest of all the DLC chapters, I reckon. It's also the longest, so feel entirely free to skip that one for now if you wish. Chapter 3 of Gunslinger Joe can be split into 2 parts. The first part is on Earth in a space station, a sort of building, and the second is on Venus. In the starting area, I go around and there's some items that you can collect. Now I must warn you that the audio for this recording was completely executed, so instead we will have to make do with some peaceful Hollow Knight music. I hope you will forgive me. As you can see, I barge into the vent there. I kill the first guy and then I, like a coward, hang back here with dual shotguns and kill a handful of enemies as they charge towards me. Now in this case, I killed them all from in that vent. Usually if there's 1 or 2 more left, I will take the more aggressive approach and go out into the room, find out where they are and just gun them down. After that, I'll collect all the items I can find and then go up to this doorway. There's 2 or 3 enemies that will run out straight away that we can use the shotguns to gun down. In this case it didn't go too smoothly, and I only killed 2, but I'll keep the shock hammers equipped and stand by this doorway. There will be one enemy that will always come out from that security area that you can see. He will start moving once you enter the room. We can easily kill him and then wait here. Eventually, the enemies will trickle through and we can gun them down as we see them. I tend to equip a Sturmgewehr in one hand and a shotgun in the other. It's entirely up to you what works best. I just find that I can gun them down from a range with the Sturmgewehr and then If they get too close, I just use the shock hammer. Again, this is very close to the beginning of the chapter, so I'm a lot more casual about this. Nothing's too strict just yet. I get shot there, but I'm not sure what by or where they were. I guess I was just being a bit too aggressive there. There is a generous amount of enemies in this area, but there's not a commander, so that's one stress that's taken off. And depending on your patience, you can hang here for as long as you like. There also isn't an indicator for when the combat in this section ends. That seems to be a trend among pretty much half the encounters of Wolfenstein. A big problem is you don't know when the encounter ends, and usually there's one straggler that will, on Mein Leben, can gun you down and kill you in a matter of seconds. So that's a big problem. You can count how many enemies there are in an area. There's 3 enemies here, there's one there, and then there's a couple more coming up. Then when we proceed here, there's 3 more that we can take down how we please. It's probably best to let them run to the stairs and then shoot them when their backs are turned. And here I get the Kampf pistol. This is somewhat necessary for the very last encounter of this level. So you can see I get the upgrade here, along with another Kampf pistol, and we'll just keep these in our inventory for now. We won't use them, because as I say, we will need them later on. There's 2 unarmored Nazis here that we don't need to take down in stealth, but you have been warned, one of them does take a lot of bullets to kill. I don't know if it's a bug, but he just does not go down easy. Once they're killed, there's another stealth section, and firstly, I will take the ammo in this room here. Then I distract the guard to our right, along with an armored Nazi at the far side. Then we will wait at this post, and there's a Nazi just below us, and we're going to wait for him to turn around before jumping in the hole in the floor before any of them can shoot us. So we'll go behind this guy, and we want to quickly kill him. Do not shoot the explosives. That may end badly and may hurt you, because if you don't shoot them enough, they have a delayed explosion. So it's easier just to shoot them in the head and then quickly run and jump down there. And then they'll despawn and you don't have to worry about them. This part's a bit weird. There's a super sedan to start off with, just one. And we're going to wait for him to be in a position where we can shoot at his back. Now, you can wait quite a bit and there's a good position for you to shoot him, but it does take a while and a bit of patience. I got a bit impatient here and just shot him when he was in that position. That almost destroyed the explosive on his back, but it wasn't quite enough. So what you do, if you don't quite kill him, don't get cocky, retreat here, and he cannot follow you down here. So he'll reach so far and then he can't go any further. So just get an angle on him, and then as you can see, I finish him off here. I'd probably recommend waiting a bit longer, and he'll go, keep your distance, and then he'll go on the lower floor from where he was, and he'll have his back turned for long enough to where you can go right up behind him and just shoot his back and kill him with relative ease. We kill the super statins here for a number of reasons. The first is we need this hammergewehr for the next section. Well, don't need, but it makes it a lot easier and saves us some ammo. So we'll run up here, we'll kill that one, and the one behind us will also spawn in and charge down, but we can shoot him before he reaches us. There's one more that we will gun down before he gets a chance to shoot us. And he will spawn in right ahead of us here. The second reason is it's just the safest. You can run past this section in any way you like, but there is still a chance that you will get gunned down either to death or you will take a serious amount of damage. So now, for this section, I don't bother taking out the commanders or doing any kind of stealth. This is the last section in the space station before Venus, and it takes quite a while. I hang at this specific spot with the hammergewehr, and it does take a while, but it's pretty much similar to the courthouse method. We just sit here in this spot, use the hammergewehr, and we can always retreat into the previous rooms if we take too much damage. There's plenty of health there, and we can also use, if we need any more ammo, which is unlikely, we could still go into that previous section, and we can go to the dead super soldatans and take their ammo. But a lot of this part is just patience, so we sit here with the hammergewehr and gun them down as we see them. It's rare that we get to kill a commander that early, but I did there, and eventually it will start to slow down and there will be less and less Nazis coming in. I killed another commander there. Again, it's rare that you'll kill them this early, but we'll just hang here. If none appear after a while, just shoot a shot and they'll run towards you eventually. Eventually I do go out and there's a couple stragglers left. That's very common. Just be on the lookout for them and try to kill them from a range. Usually the commander will be out here and you'll have to aim out and just shoot the commander from near the entrance. Maybe you'll have to drop the hammergewehr for a second and use the Sturmgewehrs. That's very likely, but for the most part it's a pretty safe strat as long as you stay in this room. You will see here I get a bit impatient because there's a couple stragglers left, as I say, and they are on the far side, which is relatively common. And so I proceed with caution and I shoot them down, and they go down pretty easy with the armor-piercing rounds. There is also a lot of explosives in this area, so when you do loot it, or just in general, your ramshackles do activate them, and it could probably result in an instant death if you run into one. It's just one of those things you've got to be aware of. So now we're on Venus, and this beginning section is very easy. There's like 3 guys, and you kill one of them right off the bat. There's one down here that I'm a bit slow in killing, and as a result the next guy is not in his usual place. Or maybe I was just a bit too noisy down here? I'm not sure. But this was the first time that the second guy that you'll see is not in his usual spot. Usually he's leaning by this wheel that I'm at now, but for some reason he was alerted, so I just shot him. It's not too big of a deal, but it was worth mentioning. Usually he's at that wheel, but if he's not, just fucking shoot him anyway. This next stealth section is kind of a rigged one, and that's because we can kill this guy stealthily, fair enough, but these next 2 guys pretty much always turn around, and even if not, it's still very hard to stealth. So I just gun them down straight away and run across here. Now the aim here is to kill every enemy in this section, and I'll explain why in a bit. But for now we're going to wait for the Robodog to appear, meanwhile just killing any Nazi that shows face. Sometimes the Robodog will be the first to appear, sometimes it'll take a while. That commander pretty much always walks there. He'll walk right in front of you and go down the walkway, so just take your time in killing him. The other commander's not so easy, but I'm trying to throw a grenade in preparation for the Robodog, and then just aiming at his eye and shooting him with the armor-piercing rounds kills him pretty quickly. Just be aware that he can pounce at you instead of shooting at you, and he's just quite unpredictable. He's a little bastard, but after we kill him, we can go into this spot, which is more desirable. But if we go into this spot straight away, then the Robodog can sometimes, as I say, turn the corner and pounce at you very quickly and pretty much insta-kill you. So from this spot we have a lot more angles on the Nazis as they come towards us. They can only come towards us at one direction, and we can shoot them on the ground, or as they come up from the stairs, or as they come round the corner, or when they're on the walkway, so it's a very good angle. But they can shoot you back if you peek out too much. So just be aware of that, and take your time, and kill them as you see them. There is an indicator when this combat section ends, and it's not a bit of dialogue. There are bits of temporary cover on the ground that you will hear and or see go down once combat ends. You can see them down there. It's just the white walls that you see there on the ground. They'll go down when combat ends, and that is applicable in all the indoor sections on Venus in this DLC chapter. So you can hear them going down, and then as you can see, the covers are down. That's the indicator that combat has ended and all the enemies are dead. Now the reason why we kill all of them and we don't just run past them, because that is a viable strat, running past them, is because these enemies don't despawn easily, and we want to have this section as a safe zone for the next section. It also buys us enough time to get the shock hammer upgrade here. That's the rotor upgrade, which combines 3 shots into 1, which is somewhat useful for later on. Now, so that we have this section as a safe zone, that's important because it makes this next part just that bit easier. It means that we don't have to go straight out onto the surface, so to speak. We can shoot these guys from the airlock, and if things get a bit too spicy, we can just walk backwards, the door will shut, and they can no longer shoot us. It will also mean that our coolant will reset, We don't have to worry about freezing ourselves up. We can just walk back and that'll reset itself just fine. So we'll kill them as we see them. Usually they'll hang at that bit of cover there and we can shoot their arms and they'll flinch out and we can finish them off. So eventually, like so, we'll kill all the ones that we can for now. And I believe I show something to be aware of in a couple seconds here, and that's to do with these explosive balls. Even when you blow them up, you can see that the indicator is still red there, and that's because even once they blow up, you can still shoot them and they let out a bit of fire. I don't know if that's a bug or not, I assume it is, but it's something just to be aware of that I thought was worth showing there that might be of some harm if you're not aware of it. There's some more Nazis that spawn in this little bit here. You can see I freeze myself up before going here. I shoot a shot just to make them aware of me, then they charge out, and I throw a grenade here for good measure. That usually kills 2 or 3. There's one upstairs also, sometimes makes his way down, but he has a really good line of sight on you if he stays upstairs, so that's why I tend to hang back and make them come to me downstairs, and then I just shoot them and throw grenades like so. It's a weird little bit. Sometimes they're really aggressive and they already know that you're there, and sometimes they're completely clueless. This next part is very difficult, and that's because it's sort of like a hold-off section. It's another rigged stealth section. You just sort of have to shoot everything, and there's like robots as well, and that's all fine, but it's the fact that you're on a timer and you've got to use your coolant, and if they shoot you whilst you're on the coolant, you're fucked. So I use the coolant right away, and then I shoot them as I see them. Blow up that ball because that usually kills a Nazi that's closer to us, and then I wait. You can hear the robots already coming. I believe there's 3 in this part. They're the main threat. There's also a commander at the far side. They're worth killing. There's one that's closer to us on our side. It just means that there's less reinforcements for us to deal with if we kill them quick enough. So just try and kill everything as quick as possible, and it is possible to kill everything before we need to use the coolant. It's just completely random if one happens to shoot us or sneak up on us whilst we use the coolant. Like there's no way of predicting that. It's very annoying, but that's Wolfenstein 2 for you. So you can see here, I try and use the coolant, but then I think I hear a robot coming, so I quickly get out of that. But the robot sort of bugs out here. It sticks to the wall, it seems, and I'm not sure why that is. That's a first. But I take advantage of that, so that's just something to know, I guess. It seems that I think a couple other enemies also do that. They just sort of stick to the wall. It's weird. I haven't seen that before. I'm not sure how regular that is. But you can see the commanders there doing the same thing. I don't know what causes that. It's very strange. But that's all of the enemies for this section, so we quickly run towards the exit, and then that's the second most annoying part of Venus done. There's a couple very easy indoor sections. Again, you can see when combat starts, these temporary covers go up. When combat ends, they go down. These are very easy. They're not really worth explaining. Just shoot the Nazis and try not to get blown up by the big balls. Also take as much health and armor as your heart desires. You will need it. So now we're on to the last encounter, and what you want to do is equip dual Kampf pistols that we hopefully haven't used yet and are stocked up, and we're going to shoot the Zersterer. We're going to shoot his left arm, which is his lobber arm, 2 times with each gun, and then quickly switch to dual shotguns that are on rotor.
Oh shit.
I thought you were dead, Joe. Persistent. Just like your worthless father, slaving away down.
So just shoot one, then shoot the other. Don't shoot them both at the same time like you might see me do here. Unless it's the Super Sedan, that's different. But because they shoot 3 at once, you'll only need 1 per Nazi, and that will definitely kill them. And so the Zersterer is no longer dead, but we're going to stick in this area.
My father was a preacher, Joe, and at night a Grand Dragon of the Ku Klux Klan. I remember asking him one.
But if we did that correctly, he is no longer a threat to us because he's only got his flame arm left, which cannot reach us from here. It's his lobber arm, which is his left arm that we destroyed, that is the most dangerous. So you'll hear him, but he's not a threat anymore, as long as we stay away from him. So now all we've got to do is just kill all the Nazis as quickly as we can. If we kill that commander quick enough, we will only have 1 Super Sedan to deal with. There's also always a guy at the bottom of these stairs when you charge out. But I don't think I was quick enough here, and I think reinforcements were called, so there was more Nazis in than I would like, and another Super Sedan was called in. So again, dual shotguns are desirable here. This is the hardest part of this whole level, by the way.
For the love of God! Someone explain to me why this football bastard isn't dead yet!
It's quite chaotic, but hopefully once that Zerster is dealt with, it should be a bit easier. I had quite a close call here, but I was able to reload and kill that Super Sedan in time. There's just these reinforcements to deal with, and then once you kill them, we can take one of the Super Sedan's laser guns and finish off the Zersterer. As you can see, there's always a guy at the bottom of the stairs, like I said, and I take the opportunity just to refill the coolant. As far as I'm concerned, at this point they're all dead, and so I kill the Zersterer, and then once you kill him, combat should end, and then the door at the top should unlock, and that should be you done with Gunslinger Joe Chapter 3. If so, you've just completed the longest and hardest chapter, so well done. The next DLC is Agent Silent Death, of which each chapter is significantly shorter than Gunslinger Joe and Captain Wilkins, so it's a breeze in comparison, really.
Chapter 1 of Agent Silent Death is pretty short. Right from the start there's a knife and some armor you can grab, so obviously I'd recommend that you get those. We're going to go up the ladder and into the vent. There are 2 Nazis that we'll kill up top here. We're going to stand in this spot, wait for a Nazi to walk there, we will shoot him, and then melee the one closest to us. We can then just walk out of the room without allowing any of the others. There's a knife ahead of us, and the best route I've found through this section is by killing the dog and the Nazi in front of us in this hallway. Now we have to use throwing knives. Anything else and the dog won't be alerted because he'll be dead. But if you use a gun, then that will alert the Nazis in the room to our right. And if you try and melee the dog up close, there's a good chance it won't work and he'll be alerted, and then that'll alert the guards and it's going to get messy.
Diving into the hotel minibar the night before.
So they'll despawn pretty much immediately when we walk in here, or at least they won't bother us. And we can pretty much just skip this whole section and we will walk to the middle of this room to get the enemies in the section we're in now to despawn. I didn't walk far enough and didn't realise that they're actually still here.
Central. I wondered if I was up to par after all these years.
So I sort of panic a bit there and then fix my mistake.
Ich hatte eine ziemlich schlimme Vorahnung. Man könnte sagen, sie kam mir im Traum.
So now that they've despawned, we're going to go back, and what I was doing is I was just looting everything here while we can. So we're going to go into the Hot Fuzz room, and there's plenty of ammo in here, but what's most important is the weapon upgrade in this room here. It doesn't help us greatly, but it is a magazine boost and it gives us some extra ammo. So this is the last section of this chapter, and it's basically a massive room with a lot of Nazis. So pretty much what I'd say is just kill them in the order that I do here. You don't have to knife him, but I like to. If you can, it's always easier, because it's pretty much a guaranteed one shot and it saves bullets. You can also just melee him. The hardest part of this section is here, so we'll kill him, which is fair enough. But there's two Nazis over there talking. So we have to wait for one to walk over, and we'll kill him, and then just hope that we can kill the other one before he's alerted. The angle's a bit dodgy, but it is possible. Now we have to go up, and there's no prompt for it, but we will melee this robot. That will not set off the alarm at all, just as long as you remember to click. There's no prompt for that, you just have to melee and then hope it goes into the animation. There's a super Soldaten on this top floor. I find if you just crouch walk and go round and then wait at this pillar for a bit, then he really won't disturb you. So at this point, if you've not alerted anything, the level's pretty much over. It's just the Uber commander we need to kill,
I could smell the sickly sweet.
and he will have his back facing us. But always be careful and just make sure that there's no Nazis in the room. So that's that done, and then we can just head to the window. And that's chapter 1 of Agent Silent Death done. So we're on to chapter 2 now. And the entire first section can be skipped by running up to this truck and crawling under it.
Sound stages.
There will usually be a Nazi right in front of you. You can see he's over there, so I have to shoot him. I was quite delayed in starting, so you should be able to just go up behind him and do a takedown and then go up these stairs. And then we'll more or less hug the right wall and then just make our way round crouched in this room. It will slow down here as if you've been seen, but you will never really raise the alarm if you follow this route. So you saw that we shot that guy in the head, and then usually the commander sits down in this chair. This time he wasn't, and he was facing the window, which is another possibility, but usually he's sitting in that chair. So just be cautious when going around here, and then just quickly kill him.
The Paragon Studios office building looked exactly like the place a wanker like Lorenz would fester.
The next room is probably the trickiest in this chapter. So there's a lot of enemies here and it's a big open space. I tried a lot in this room, but the technique I found best consists of just going into the left room after waiting for the guards on the right to walk into the side room on the right.
Since I'm sure there will be many volunteers, please.
And then we'll quickly take that guy out with a takedown. And you can see that time slowed down here, but I'm not sure why. And then we'll go up behind this guy very carefully and take him down. Then we just run to the vent and just crawl through to the next room. I've tried a lot of different techniques there, but the technique that had the best success rate was just running and just getting to that event as quickly as possible. There's also a weapon upgrade that I missed that is in one of the side rooms, so if you despawn the enemies in that room and then go back, you should be able to grab that.
Maybe drinking wasn't the solution, but it sure soothed the pain.
So this is the last section of chapter 2, and I used to go around the left, stealthily taking out the guards, but I found that you can actually just kill the guy in front of you and then go to the right, and it's actually quicker to go round the right. It's arguably riskier, but there's less enemies to take down, so that means that there's less enemies to get caught by. It's up to you really, it just means that we've got to wait for 2 super Sedatans to turn around and then quickly go in behind them. So it's quite risky because they have an insane line of sight. So then we'll crawl under here, quickly kill these guys. You can go for the head, but it is a bit risky, so I just like to quickly tap them twice in the body. In hindsight, it was probably best to dual wield before going under that vent and killing those 2 guards, because it means that you can quickly just use 1 shot with each gun and then kill them both with relative ease. So on the top floor, I go to the right. There's a shotgun guy on the top layer here, so we'll shoot him in the head and continue circling round. There's a super Sedatan at the end here, and a commander and a couple guards, so it gets a bit inconsistent and a bit messy here. So I'd advise that you just take what's given to you and shoot them as you see them. That guy's usually leaning there, and the guy's usually behind him, and the commander's usually there. This guy sometimes walks out, sometimes he doesn't. This guy's sometimes there, sometimes he isn't. You just have to really go with it and be on the lookout. When they're all taken down, or if the alarm is raised, the best thing to do is just to run to that event anyway. Crawl under there, and now we're pretty much safe regardless of whether or not we raise the alarm. So then we'll crawl out the vent and then kill the guard, and then spam the target there. And then that's chapter 2 done, and we'll get out the window as quickly as possible.
15 is 15 and 50 is 50.
Chapter 3 of Agent Silent Death is unsurprisingly the hardest chapter of this particular DLC, and also unsurprisingly, we will be doing the majority of it through stealth. I go under this crate, I wait for the second guard to be a reasonable distance away from us. I take out the first one, and then I sneak up behind the second and take him out. It's entirely up to you how you deal with them. I tend to kill him with a takedown just to save bullets. There's also alarms in this area, as there is in many stealth areas in Wolfenstein. I don't actually know what they do, but out of habit I tend to just destroy the ones in this particular section, just because I think they might help. That was very close, by the way. Probably just throw a knife at him or take him down. But yeah, I get rid of all the alarms here, just because it might help with the very last part, which is a very annoying section to deal with, and it's just very inconsistent, and I think there might be less enemies if you destroy the alarms. I don't know, it's entirely up to you. It's just what I do. So I'm just going from crawl space to crawl space. I'm shooting down the Nazis that need shooting, and then I melee the ones that are in my way. So I wait in there for him to walk around, I kill him, and then I circle around here, and there's one more who very often will walk to the left as he does here. If he doesn't do that, and he is persistent on standing by that support, get out of cover and give him a silenced shot. If he walks over there, then just shoot him as you see there. There's one more enemy over there, so I keep a reasonable distance. He can't see you, and then I shoot him. And I completely lied. He is the last soldier in this area, not the last enemy. There's still the commander there that I take care of. And now I'm going round and destroying the alarms. Again, it's up to you whether or not you want to do that. I actually don't know if there's any benefit to this. Right now, there's only a super Soldaten and a Panzerhund left, and we don't have to deal with those. So just destroy the alarms if you want to, and then we'll progress on through. This part is largely the same. There is a robo-doggy that we want to keep a reasonable distance from. I destroy that alarm. If you get anywhere near him, he will know you're there and he'll turn around no matter where you are. If you're just anywhere near him, he'll turn around, know you're there, and you're pretty much fucked. I shoot one of those, then melee the others, and then I go round into this crawl space. I don't think the robo-doggy detects dead bodies. At least he doesn't here, so that's very useful.
I named them Fionnuala, Prentice, and Ridgewell.
Again, keep a reasonable distance, and then he'll slowly circle around here. We'll go after him. There's 2 more Nazis, and I kill them like so. And then we're going to quickly, but stealthily, make our way through to the ventilation section, where we will sabotage the air filtration system.
Agent Silence! Yes, I know it's you. Are you on a quest for vengeance? You assassinated the people who destroyed...
Again, 2 more here. Deal with them how you will. They're really not a threat. But what's worth noting is there's actually 2 shock hammers here. I believe these are the only ones that we can find in the Agent Silent Death DLC. At least the only one in this chapter that we can find lying around like that. So take them, they might be useful later on when we're killing Dunkel. This part is nothing special, it's just destroying the system, and then we're going to make our way back for the last part, which is a very weird section. It's like sort of timed, but you're also chasing down the guy, and then you're also trying to leave. There's just a lot of moving parts, and you're very tight on time. But I think I've got a strategy that is somewhat consistent, at least the most consistent that I could make it, but it is worth experimenting for yourself. So it's important that you stay crouch walked when you're heading out here, otherwise those 2 Nazis will be running towards you. If they are, just take them out with the pistol. In this case, they were patrolling in a non-alerted state because I was crouch walked when I was leaving the air filtration room, so we can just take them out like so. Now, this is the part where the oxygen starts depleting. However, it seems to be around this point in the room, Dunkel will spawn in, and then from here, your health starts going down in increments of 3, but it's so slow that you just regen it back. As you can see there, it's going to 97 and then going back up to 100. So the oxygen is depleting, but it's at this particular position, it's just going to keep at that rate. So it's nothing to worry about now. So what I do now is I wait under this crate or the one next to it. It doesn't really matter, just as long as we're hidden under here. There will be a super Soldaten that will walk out. But what we're doing is, you can see at the top there, Dunkel is walking away. He's trying to escape, but as far as I'm concerned, he can't actually escape. He just goes as close to the exit as possible, which is the entrance to the chapter. That is also the exit. So the reason I do that is because it means that he's in a position that we are aware of every single time. It just creates a level of consistency. So what I do is, once he's 80 odd meters away from under the crate, we'll head out stealthily. then once you're out of that room, just start running. The oxygen will start depleting pretty quickly now, so we want to be as quick as possible. Have those shotguns equipped, and then we make our way down here. There's a dog that we want to kill, and also an explosive that you've got to be aware of. What I do is I just melee him. I don't try and shoot him that much because he has so much health that the best way to kill him is just to melee him. The only worrying part there is the explosive. You just sort of have to be wary of it, and I was trying to set it off there, but I was unsuccessful, and I just panicked because I was running out of time, so I just ran up and meleeed him. So it's probably a good idea to set that thing off just to be safe, then head down. Again, it's just a very weird part. It's quite stressful, so just keep practicing that and find something that works for you. This is just the technique that worked best for me. And I'll also mention that when you're waiting under the crate, I don't know if there was one in this recording, but I think a Super Sedan does walk out the door once Dunkel respawns back in. As long as you're under the crate, he can't see you. I don't know if he was there in this recording. There's a lot of glare in this room, so it's hard to see. But if he is there, again, just keep hidden. And sometimes he walks away, like I think he did here, if he even headed into this room. But if he's still there once Dunkel is in position, just find a way to sneak past him. There is a crawl space that's very useful that's across from us, from this position, that we can use. And then we can go under the crates in front of the door and then just find an opening to sneak past him. And then just progress as usual.
Confusion will be zero. German numbers are your hero.
The first chapter for Captain Wilkins is quite a weird one. The hardest encounter that we will find throughout the Captain Wilkins DLC is in this first one. And it's actually the second encounter. But for now, we're just going to loot everything that's relevant to us. There's an upgrade there, which is the suppressor for the machine pistols, which will prove pretty useful for distracting enemies.
Hier kommt doch nie jemand vorbei.
Bist nicht eingeladen? Ich hätte schwören können, dass Detlef
I shoot the unarmored gentleman in the head there, and then I melee the other one. And so now our priority, as you can see, is the Super Sedan. Because our weapons are pretty shit, given that we've got no upgrades, I use grenades and any explosive barrels. Sometimes I will lure him towards an explosive barrel with a silenced machine and pistol shot, now that we've got the suppressors, like I said, and then you blow it up right next to him. But that rarely outright kills him. So I just use barrels and grenades and everything we've got. Then there's like a couple enemies on the top sort of floor there, and as you saw, I shot them when they were down on the stairs. Just as they're running down, they'd like to go to that spot on the stairs because it's closest to us. And then there's no real structure here because it's the first encounter of the DLC, so I'm not too strict about it at all. I just sort of hang top and then shoot them. And then once I'm convinced most are dead, I'll go to that spot in the container there, and usually there's a lot of stragglers down there. There's also a mounted laser cover just left to where I'm aiming here, and a lot of them like to run to that and shoot it at us. Also, if you are unable to kill the Super Sedan at the start, just wait and make sure he doesn't shoot you, but eventually he will work his way towards a spot or position where we can shoot his fuel canister on his back. Very often he'll end up directly below where I was camping there, and that's a really good spot just to sort of aim directly down and kill him there. He's the main threat in this first encounter. Like I said, it's not too strict. You just sort of kill everything and then loot everything and then go on. It doesn't matter, you're losing like no time if you die here. There's also 100 health just left to where I'm going here, behind some containers. This is the hardest encounter, or well, the most annoying encounter for the Wilkins DLC that I mentioned before. And like nothing is consistent here. I tried to create a consistent strategy, but every time the enemies had different aggro levels, different positions, different patterns, they just spawned in different places. It's horrible. And what I found that works the most consistent, and I'd say that with a generous pinch of salt, but I hang up here, and if they're not aggroed, then just head straight on down, but usually they are. So what I'll do is I'll wait up here, and then wait for them to de-aggro. You know when they're de-aggroed because you'll hear a sort of static noise, like so, and then after that, they're de-aggroed, and we can head down. we'll go into these pipes. I'll have a machine-gun pistol in one hand and a pistol in the other. I use the battle walkers to go on top of here. There is usually an enemy directly below us, but he won't actually see us. So what I like to do is use the machine-gun pistols and fire it at that wall there to get the commander's attention. But I completely forgot to use the machine-gun pistols and just ended up using the pistol to distract him, which is not a good idea because we want to save on pistol ammo. But as you can see, I lure him over there and then I kill him with the pistol. And then from here, now that the commander's dead, we can just use the pistol to silently take down all the enemies that we can see. But yeah, my aim's also horrible here, so I end up wasting a lot of pistol ammunition, and it comes back to bite me. So really try to conserve ammo here. Just go for headshots when you know it's a pretty much guaranteed kill. So as you can see, there's no real structure here. I'm just going and aiming round and killing them as quickly as I can. Usually there'll be like a small handful left by the time they've spotted you, and then you can just gun them down as they make themselves available. I tried creating like a strategy to like walk through them, but there's just no consistency at all with this area. It was horrible. I tried to like herd them around with bullets, but it's just nothing was that consistent. So this is what I tend to do, and then there's one last straggler there. I would recommend experimenting with this bit because it's like different strategies will work best for different people. So just see whatever works best for you because it's so inconsistent. So now it's just the Super Sedan left. I tried to throw grenades to sort of kill him, but if those don't work, I've got a little mini strategy here, which consists of luring him over here and then going around this big pillar here and just keep circling around. And then eventually he'll give up and stop, and then we can just shoot him down like so. So the next section, oh, also, yes, marksman scope, you do not want to miss that at all. It's like the best thing in this whole DLC. These Sturmgewehrs are now like our go-tos. There's also a Kampf pistol that we can find here. So yeah, for the next section, you will need the silenced pistol to sort of take them down cleanly. The machine-gun pistols just aren't that good. So I ran out of bullets here, which is annoying. But that guy in the top layer is always there. The one on the bottom, I usually have to lure him out with a silenced machine pistol shot. But he was already standing there for some reason. And then I tried to take that guy out silently, and it just did not work. Usually what I do is he's got his back turned by the time I jump down. I just take him out with a silent shot, and then I take the commander out who's at the opposite balcony who's walking across, and we take him out as well with a silent shot. But it's no biggie because this is quite a good spot that we can use, and we've got good weapons now. And so we can just take our time and just shoot them as they walk their way up the stairs, although they are quite aggressive, so take note of that. and then we can just aim out and pick them off one by one. But what happens is once you kill the commander stealthily at the opposite walkway, like what should happen, then after that, just make your way up to that spot and just start gunning them down. It's the exact same, except there's a lot less, and there's a smaller chance of them being able to run and get the jump on you. So loot this area once you think you've killed them all, but there's usually 1 or 2 stragglers. I'm sure there is here, yep. So always be wary of that. There's no indicator for when combat has ended here. But always make sure you've killed them all, because if one jumps out of you, once you trigger the little cutscene here, you're fucked, because there's no way of getting out of it.
A party on a sub, embarking from the Kodiak Islands. Looks like I've got my next target.
Immediately use your battle walkers and then gun down the shotgun guy as he walks out here.
An alle, die Vorbereitungen sind abgeschlossen. Sammeln Sie sich für die Abfahrt zur Kodiak-Basis im Lasterdepot. Vielen Dank.
Everyone was gathering in one place.
When you enter this next section, immediately turn to the left and stealthily take out the Nazi that we'll see there. And then I tend to use the scoped Sturmgewehrs or Kampf pistols or some combination of the two. Here I tried to do something slightly different, and I used silence rounds to lure the enemies into a specific spot and then fire a Kampf pistol round with the intent of killing more of them with one shot, and it was semi-successful. Once they're alerted, we can just hang by this doorway and gun them down. Again, there's no indication that combat ends here, so there's one straggler that just sort of caught me a bit off guard, but he wasn't really a threat. So now we've got like a small little stealth section, but they are pretty much always alerted to your presence because you'll need the battle walkers here, and they can hear them. So I just immediately start shooting, and then eventually the Super Sedan, which is the main threat here, will start walking from the left of that room there. I threw a couple of grenades here, but it's just guesswork. It's hard to sort of get the timing just right so that we can blow him up with those. So usually you're just sitting here waiting for him to peek out and then just spamming your Sturmgewehrs at him. If he gets like even like a couple shots on you, it can do mega damage, so you want to gun him down as quickly as possible. So now there's just like a handful of Nazis that we're having to take down. I prefer just to stay in the elevator. They're usually quite reluctant to peek out at you, even though they know you're there, and also they can't shoot through the elevator. So just sit in there and then just try and peek out just enough so that you can just shoot at their legs. It's a weird little bit, so just try and peek out slightly and just chip away at them. I find that if I go out of the elevator, they always seem to get the drop on me, so I just sit in there and be very patient. And you want to make sure that you're crouch walked when walking into this last section. The last section has no commander and is not that bad, all things considered. There are two Nazis to our left on this walkway that are just asking to be slaughtered, so we'll take those out silently. And we're going to try and take as many out silently as we can. It just makes things a bit easier for us. Sometimes they're not alerted at all, sometimes they are. I think a lot of it depends on... Once they're alerted to you, I like to jump onto this unit here and then jump up to this beam. We can get a high up view of quite a lot of this arena from standing up here, and we can shoot the Nazis as they're running towards us from a distance. Being up here also stops the dog in this encounter from getting to us. The Nazis can shoot at us, but it's very rare, and usually we'll have killed them before they can kill us. The super Sedatans tend to shoot at us more from up here, so just be wary of that and just try and gun them down as quickly as possible. The super Sedatans are actually quite easy to take out now, because we've got our scoped Sturmgewehrs, and once the 3 super Sedatans are dead, that's pretty much you done with this chapter. There might be a couple stragglers and the dog or whatever, but you're pretty much good to go from here. This chapter isn't actually all that bad and doesn't need much explaining, at least apart from that second section. So I wouldn't worry too much about this one.
Felt good knowing there were that many less Nazis on American soil.
We can start chapter 2 by killing this Nazi here. We will then do a battle walker takedown on the next Nazi before looting everything. We're now going to switch to the machine-in pistols and shoot that spot there. Our aim is to lure all the Nazis to that spot before shooting the barrel. It doesn't always work perfectly, sometimes they don't all get lured to that area, but if you are able to kill all the human Nazis by doing this, then it just saves some bullets and gives you a head start. I now switch to the Sturmgewehrs, and I just be very conservative with my ammo because we don't have a lot of it. And we don't even have 2 Sturmgewehrs, we've just got the 1, so I aim and shoot either one of the robots in the head when I'm sure they've stopped moving, and then after that they usually move around a bit and then they just repeat. It usually takes 4 or 5 shots to the head to kill each of them.
I take it you've made it to the station?
Armed and ready. Ready to kill some Nazis.
Has everything about journal with you?
Yeah.
Constantly in position. Hurry up. Out.
If I were her age, I would have definitely talked like that to a superior. Her dad should have taught her some manners.
In this part, I head straight to the left up the stairs. Once we get to this corner, we can turn around, and it's a bit awkward, but we can shoot that Nazi in the head like so. Now we head up, and we have to be very careful that the Super Sedatan on the top floor doesn't see us. Super Sedatans by default have an insane line of vision, but this one is just ridiculous. Like, you want to just have it so that you can only see the top of his head, otherwise he will see you, and you're pretty much fucked from here, because I think the door closes if the alarm goes off. So yeah, you're kind of fucked if you get spotted in this section. So I'm being very careful and I'm waiting for him to walk over to the right. We're still going to stay seated here and then we're going to wait for him to walk all the way over to the left at this point. We are usually safe to start moving when he's about 60% the way across. So we're going to quickly but stealthily make our way around here. And there's a Nazi that we take down with a pistol. He was up there for some godforsaken reason. He's usually there. You can see him sort of showing you there. That's the first time he's ever been there. This game baffles me. But now there's a drone that we've got to be aware of. We don't deal with him. We just have to make sure that he doesn't see us. And now there's a commander and a dog. Sometimes the dog's there, sometimes he's not. Of course, there's another commander in here, and usually the dog's, if he's not up there, then he's in here. So that's the dog dead, and then that's the second commander. If the dog isn't in there, just don't worry about it, because the enemies will despawn once we reach a certain point in this room. And then we'll head back and loot the whole bit.
To take out a super cannon.
There's just a couple Nazis here for us to take down, but they're not a hassle at all. Obviously, loot everything that you can find. We have two main focuses, the first being the camp pistol, which is useful for the last part of this DLC. And there's pistol ammo that will be very useful, and that's in that box there. If the boxes are randomized in Gunslinger Joe or other parts of the Wolfenstein 2 DLCs, then they're not in this part, at least, because that ammo is always in there.
Sounds like you're done over there, Captain.
That gun is gone. Any word from Cross?
Still nothing. And that gun is still intact.
Once you fire the gun, wait by this door and camp with the shotgun, and then there's one Nazi waiting to die at that door there.
To look the man that killed him in the eye.
That's enough gory details for me.
We're going to camp in this vent and then shoot this super sedan. That will aggro all the other enemies, and then we can just camp in this vent. You won't always have time to kill the super sedan. For me, he was still just barely alive here. But we won't worry about him for now. Just camp by this vent, and if you start to get shot, then we can just retreat back into the vent. I choose not to stealth this one because it's pretty difficult, at least with my experience. But I start it off with stealth, so I kill that commander, and then I quickly kill the guy next to him. I jump down here, I kill these two gentlemen, and that's about where the stealth ends. While breaking stealth, I like to kill a super sedan, because that just gets one out of the way, and then we retreat back into a side room that is just behind us here. I spam him with the Sturmgewehr. You can also lure him to the explosive with a silenced shot and then blow up the explosive. Either way works. And now we're just going to camp in this room, and there's a lot of Nazis to come, so make sure you've got enough ammo to take care of them. So just camp here, and there's one or like maybe two super sedans left. I'll get to that later, it's weird. But I think it's only one, but just be aware that there might be another, even with that one that we killed there being dead. So in total there's 2 or 3 in this section. Also, I'd recommend you don't go to the left of this room so that you're facing the door at an angle. Because what happens is they end up throwing a lot of grenades in that case, and that's just courthouse PTSD that we don't need. It's very common for the Super Sedan to hang at that spot, and then we can just shoot at him through the gap. So now it's just the commander left, and we're sort of done with this section. So as I was saying, when we pull the switch, more Super Sedans will come out the door, and that's fine. But I think there's one other Super Sedan on the opposite side, but I don't know if he is there from the start, or he spawns in once the alarm is raised, or if he only sometimes spawns in, or if he spawns in when we pull the switch. As you can see, I use the camp pistols here. I actually wouldn't recommend that because we do need them for later, and what happens is I end up not having enough for later on. Preferably we want 3 or 4 in each camp pistol, so probably just use either the laser gun or the Sturmgewehrs for them. So now, as you can see, I'm looting the bit because I'm trying to find ammo for the camp pistols because I'm aware that I'm going to need some more. And I don't, but then you'll see in a second that this mystery Super Sedan just kind of appears, and I'm afraid I just don't have an explanation for it. It's probably something very simple. He's probably just like there from the start and I didn't realize or something, but like there he is, and I just sort of kill him. Something to be aware of, I guess. I really don't know, but I'm probably missing something really obvious there. There's a really easy small stealth section in this red room. You really don't have to waste any bullets here, you can just use hatchets, but it's completely up to you. It's quite self-explanatory. Once you enter the second cannon room, just press the button. You don't have to aim the cannon, and then the dialogue will trigger. I like to camp on the top because the enemies come in from the bottom, and then I position myself so that their heads are just visible. And then this means that they can't really shoot at us, so we're pretty much safe sitting up here. Some more will spawn in behind us, and we just deal with those pretty much the same way. So now we've got 3 short stealth sections, and then we've reached the end of the chapter. None of these rooms have commanders, but the first room is a bit weird in that extra enemies will spawn in after you've killed the first few.
He came to me saying he knew where I could find you, and I trusted that fucking traitor.
Calm down. Where are you now? Where can I find Cross?
He's in the super cannon and he's gonna fire it at me. We need to take that thing out.
So there's 4 here. Once I open the door, 1 will walk in the room, so I immediately go to these crates over here. He'll walk in there, and I'll throw a hatchet at him. I then use the pistol to take out the shotgun guy, and then the one that's up there. I then try to also use the pistol to kill the guy that will investigate his body, but in this case that didn't work out, which is fine. It just means that it'll rush downstairs and we can bring out our Sturmgewehrs. So that's the original 4 dead, and now an extra handful will spawn in after we leave that spot and we go to like the opposite end of the room. They just sort of spawn out of nowhere. It's really weird, and this happens whether or not you you stealth the first few enemies. I like to camp in this spot and then shoot them as they go across the bridge. In this case, that didn't work out as planned, and it wasn't as clean as I would like. So there's that gap there that I shoot him, see him going across. I shoot them as they're running across there, because there's no other way that they can get to us. So they all have to funnel down that path, but I completely messed it up here. So loot the area when you're done, and then equip the pistol.
Cross is what?
Immediately shoot him, and then we're going to circle round to the right. And we're going to circle all the way around the right side of the room here, and we're not going to stop at all, except to shoot a couple Nazis. So he is one of them, obviously. And then, as we come around here, this one's sort of optional for now. He does move after a bit, so you don't have a lot of time to shoot him, but I decided to there. This is where we need our camp pistols. It's good to have 3 or 4 in each one, like I said before. So I aim my cursor at that light above the super statin, and then when he walks under it, fire a couple at him, and then we're going to ideally fire a couple at these robots in this crate before the aggro. In this case I ran out of bullets, so I had to quickly melee him, and then we run down here, and there's a shotgunner that we can quickly take care of, and then just one other, I believe. And do take note that if you don't kill that Nazi who is up before we kill the super statin, then he will obviously have to be killed there too. And this last part isn't too bad. There's a foot soldier on the left that we can shoot when he stops moving. And then we'll go up a ladder to the right, making sure that we're not in the sight of the super statins that are on the bottom floor. So shoot him, and then there's one super statin on the left who's walking across there. And so I'm trying to use the crates in front of me to sort of block his line of sight. He doesn't see you anyway, but I always feel like he's going to, so I just use those crates to block his vision. And then when he stops moving and turns around, we go up the ladder. We're going to camp at the end of this hallway and wait for a super sedatin to walk up. And then we'll kill him, which will alert all the other enemies, and then we'll shoot them as they come to us. And these Nazis do jump out at you pretty fast, so always try to pre-fire, or they might sort of catch you off guard. Once the super statins come in, if you've got any extra camp pistol shots, use them. If not, use grenades. They're always very helpful. And if you've done the main game and the other DLCs, then you'll be more than used to this by now. You're just sitting and you're just shooting them as soon as you see them. Once all 3 super stands are dead, usually there's only 1 or 2 Nazis left. I like to just equip the Hammergewehr and anticipate the last 1 or 2 running towards me. And then once they're dead, that's you done with chapter 2. In the beginning of chapter 3, I like to equip the pistol and then battle walker up on this ledge here. There's immediately a Nazi that we can kill, and then we're going to silently walk across here. Sometimes there is a commander in that room that will hear you shoot him, and you'll come out to investigate. If he does, then just shoot him as well. In this case, he didn't hear anything. So now we're going to quickly battle walker up here. They will hear this, and they'll start to investigate, but it doesn't matter by this point. We can just sprint jump across here, like so. We can sprint to this vent, and then once we get a certain distance into this vent, they'll all despawn. Again, it's the first area, so this is the quickest way to do it. Not necessarily the safest, although I've never actually really been into much bother doing it, but if you miss the jump, then you could be fucked. But again, it's like you're going to lose, 2 minutes of progress at the most. There's also the ricochet upgrade for the shotgun in here, which I like to get. Don't be alarmed when you hear these guys talking. This is just a thing that happens in the game. Once you kill enemies, they just continue talking sometimes. And Chapter 3 actually might be the easiest of the Captain Wilkins chapters. It's definitely the shortest. At least I feel that way. Which is different from the other two, where the third chapter was always the hardest. So for me, it's actually quite a pleasant one to end on. Make sure to hang back in this vent while this guy walks across. If you walk forward too quickly, he will see you. But it's not that it matters. He's the only guy, like, in this room. I threw a hatchet, which was a bad idea because it just completely disappeared. And then I got impatient and just shot him.
Are you inside?
What the hell? Get out of my head, Spectre.
A portable radio. How old are you?
This dumb thing? I thought it was to keep water out of my nose.
You put them underwater? I found some blueprints on the beach. If you keep moving forward, you'll run into the bulk of the enemy forces.
That suits me just fine. I need a peace lesson.
That's stupid. There are maintenance hatches nearby, and you can avoid them. Use those.
Aw.
This next stealth section is a rigged one. There is 2 enemies that will be directly below you, and they will be having a conversation. And it doesn't matter what you do, even if you take them out quickly like so, these enemies will always get alerted. Not to the point of the alarm being raised, but they will investigate and eventually the alarm will go off. It's like guaranteed. And even after they stop having a conversation, they still just stand there and look at each other. It's really annoying, but I prefer to just take as many out silently as I can. Look at this shit. What the fuck is that? But once the alarm goes off, you can switch to dual Sturmgewehrs and then take them out as you see them. You won't take them all out from up here, but you will take out a fair handful if you're patient enough. Also be wary of the dog. If you don't kill him from up here, then when you head down, always be ready for him because he will get the jump on you. Once you're ready to go down, switch your right hand weapon to a shotgun. We're going to keep 1 Sturmgewehr equipped just in case. And then when we get to this spot, we're going to switch our left hand weapon to the shotgun as well. And these weapons with the ricochet in this level are gold. They're great in this spot because the enemies can only come up the stairs from where we're aiming. They can also go across the catwalk just to the right, but I've never had a Nazi come across there. And even if they do, it's not that big of a deal. We can still just shoot them all the same. So it's quite self-explanatory. The moment they walk in front of you, just tear them to shreds. The commander just fucking died there. I don't know why that was. I mean, I'm assuming it was the super sedan that just charged into him and killed him. This game, man. It doesn't make much of a difference for us. But in this spot as well, we're not going to kill everyone in this area. But try to at least wait here until you kill the super sedan. I switched to the Kampf pistol there because I didn't have as much shotgun ammo as I liked. And if you know anything about this game, you know that super sedans are shotgun sponges. so I just used the Kampf pistol there. The commander, for some reason, came out in the open, but he doesn't do that. Usually he's in the room at the end of the hall and we have to go up to him. So I was just sort of taken aback there. I was like, what the fuck, what are you doing? And then I used the Kampf pistol, which was not a good idea because we don't have a lot of ammo for it. We're going to keep it equipped because we need it for this next part anyway. There will be enemies that will spawn in as soon as we walk in this room, so I like to fire a couple shots into that room to deal with them. Then there's one to the right that we use the shotgun to kill. In this case, there's one still alive, but that was fine. We just rushed up to him and shot him. That's similar to that one room in Chapter 2. It doesn't matter if you stealth it or not, they will always spawn in there. Use the pistol to take out that guy right in front of us. The robot will act somewhat alerted, but he won't actually care just as long as we don't shoot it instead of the Nazi. So we're going to go up to him and then take him out. And we're not going to fully stealth this area, not because it's not possible, but because it's kind of inconsistent. So he's usually up there, and then as we go up to this entrance, he'll walk out there. We'll throw a hatchet at him, and then from here I like to equip dual shotguns and use this as our little safe room. There's also an upgrade in this room that I didn't get. It's just a mag extension for the machine and pistols, which I don't use in this level at all. So I just start shooting them. And then I retreat back to this room. And there is a dog in this section as well, so be aware of him. In this case, I moved out a bit because this robot corpse was sort of getting in my way, which I didn't like, so I just headed out a bit. And I got a bit confident here and just started, that's not really recommended. I didn't even take any damage, but it's like, that's not the safest way to do things. You'd still at least stick around that entrance point, even if the body is there, just head out a tiny bit. So now I'm just checking that the coast is clear, and then we're going to loot everything in preparation for the last encounter. So now we're on to the very last encounter of Captain Wilkins, and probably the last Mein Leben encounter for Wolfenstein 2 that you will have to experience. I started off with stealth, but it is impossible to do the whole thing stealthily. So I equip a Sturmgewehr in my right hand and a pistol in my left. And I essentially shoot them with my pistol from left to right, and then I go through a small vent, and then I pick them off on the other side, just as many as I can, before eventually the Nazis will know you're there.
Enjoy your meal, gentlemen, because it's your last.
And when that happens, I like to equip dual Sturmgewehrs, or a Kampf pistol in one hand and a Sturmgewehr in the other. The Kampf pistol is good for dealing with the super Soldatens, and when enemies are grouped together, obviously, and that happens quite a bit in this last encounter. Overall, it's actually not too bad. As long as you stick in this sort of connective vent here, there is kind of a sweet spot where on either side they can't really get you, and the aim is to just pick them off as quickly as you can. It might seem a bit more hectic than it actually is because there's a lot of robots beneath you, but there's explosives that you can shoot that will kill them even if you can't directly see them. So you can see here, that's 2 of the superstatins already dealt with just with a Kampf pistol, because this thing is absolute gold. So I switch to that side and I deal with those, and then I switch back. And there's also a little gap right in front of you, just between where you are in the wall and the vent in front of you, and you can usually get an angle on some of them that are waiting down there. Obviously be a bit more careful than I'm being here with the Kampf pistol. I'm getting a bit too generous with it, and if you shoot it the wrong way and it bounces back up at you, it's going to do a lot of damage. But in this whole encounter, I don't believe that I actually took any damage, which is pretty good because it's quite a big shootout, but as long as you stick up here, you should be fine. And at this point, I'm just trying to deal with this one robot that just kept sneaking away when I tried to shoot it. But the key is just patience, and once you deal with everything and you get the last stragglers like that robot there, once you kill all the enemies, Schwartz will speak over the loudspeaker, and if you've been doing these in the order that I have, that will be you completely done with Mein Leben and Wolfenstein 2. Thank you for watching. If you have any recommendations, concerns, or questions, please leave them below, and best of luck with these godforsaken achievements.
Please subscribe to Breadbone